everyone know. Thank you. I've just had confirmation that the live stream has now commenced. Can I welcome everybody here to the meeting of the Licensing Act 2003 Subcommittee. The very first item on the agenda today is the appointment of chair for the purposes of this meeting. Do we have a proposer for chair for today, please?
Yeah, Councillor Jones.
And I second that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jones, could you please take the chair? Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the this meeting of the Licensing Act 2003 Subcommittee. I intend initially to carry out some introductions and attendance at meetings. I know Mr. Ali is here, and we have Mark Bryden from the Home Office. I'm not sure, is Mr. Ali represented? Do we know?
I'm representing myself.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ali. Okay, we have Mark Bryden, who's representing the Home Office Immigration Department. Good morning, Mark. Mr. Ali is here representing himself. We have Colin Dobson, our licensing manager, Graham Hall, head of our internal security, Bethany Simons, a solicitor, Councillor Donoghue and Councillor Hughes, both members of the committee, Brian Murray, the deputy manager of licensing committee. Have I missed anyone? I'm looking at the screen. I haven't got everybody on.
That's, I think, and we got Colin. Yes, that's everybody, I think.
Colin, yeah, and Alison Hill from our Democratic Services. So welcome and good morning. The reason for the meeting is an application to review premises licence on the grounds of the prevention of crime and disorder for the Akbar Dynasty restaurant on the A66 near Sadburge. And are you presenting this report, Colin?
Brian's going to be presenting this part of the report,
Okay.
Chair.
Over to you, Brian. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. So this report today is an application to review the premise licence on the grounds of the prevention of crime and disorder. So the licence holder is Mr. Abdul Mahan Shabul Ali, and he is here today. And the premises relates to the Akbar Dynasty on the A66 and Stockton Road near Sadburge in Darlington. The current licence is currently in force, and is for the sale of alcohol between 1800 hours to 2330 hours, and recorded music from 1800 hours to 2330 hours every day, and late night refreshment from 2300 hours to 2330 hours. The premise is licensed to be open from 1800 hours to midnight every day. So the Home Office have placed an application to review the premises on the grounds of crime and disorder, and they have notified and served this notice to all responsible authorities, which are listed below in the report. So legislation. The Licensing Act 2003 requires the licensing authority to carry out its functions with a view to promoting the four licensing objectives: the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, the protection of children from harm. The licensing authority must also have regard to its licensing policy and any guidance issued by the Secretary of State. The licensing authority may depart from its own policy or the Secretary of State's guidance if it has good cause, but must be unable to give full reasons for such departure. So description of the premises. When the premises license application was originally made, the applicant described the premises as following. The restaurant is located on the ground floor premises on the main A66 eastbound road, formerly the Little Chef. Restaurant has 50 covers and car parking available. So the purpose of the report today is to invite members to consider an application for a review of the premise licence submitted by the Home Office Immigration Enforcement based on the grounds that it undermines the prevention of crime and disorder objective. Members are requested to consider any appropriate action, which may include the revocation of the licence. So the background of the premises. On the 26th of May 2009, an application was properly made for a premise licence by Burr Sugden solicitors who are acting on behalf of Mr. Abdul Mahan Shabal Ali in respect of the building formerly known as the Little Chef, A66 Stockton Road, Sadburge. in accordance with Section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003. The application was advertised as required by the 2003 Act and no representations were made. The premise licence was granted from the 23rd of June 2009. So during the period of the licences, the premises has been inspected on numerous occasions and has been found not complying with the premise licence, namely Part A of the premise licence not available for inspection. Written warnings have been issued to the premise licence holder and these incidents are recorded in the report. Additionally, on the 5th of March 2018, HM Revenues and Customs made a request for information under the terms of Section 29 Data Protection Act 1988. The request pertains to the assessment or collection of any tax or duty or of any imposition of similar nature and required details of the licence holder and terms attached to the premise licence and the history of the premises. This information was sent to the HMRC on the same day. And a copy of the current licence is attached at Appendix 1. So on the 26th of February 2021, an application was properly made by the Home Office Immigration Enforcement to review this premise licence on the grounds of crime and disorder. In summary, this representation is in response to intelligence-led visits to the premises by immigration, compliance and enforcement officers where named individuals were found to be working illegally. The Home Office has requested that the licence to be revoked to reflect the serious nature of these incidents. The application has been reproduced at Appendix 2. A comprehensive premise licence review pack has been provided by the Home Office at Appendix 3, along with authority for entry from the Assistant Director, Appendix 4, and supporting statements by Immigration Compliance and Enforcement Officers at Appendix 5. The licence holder has confirmed attendance, which is here today, and information pertaining to inviting them to is at Appendix 6. Members have also been provided a copy of the Licensing Act 2003 policy and the guidance, the statutory state guidance, and the relevant sections are Appendix 7 and 8 in this report. So additional information, members should note that the Home Office immigration officers are protected in law from revealing their identities for the purpose of a review, which is why their details have been redacted. So members' options today. Members may consider the following options: to modify the conditions on the licence, i.e. to alter, remove or add additional conditions that they consider appropriate to promote the crime prevention, public nuisance prevention, public safety or child protection licence objectives. Exclude licensable activity from the scope of the licence. To remove the designated premise supervisor, for example, because they consider that the problems are the result of poor management. To suspend the entire licence for a period not exceeding 3 months. To revoke the licence. Also to take no action against the licence today. If members are minded to add additional conditions, they must be appropriate to promote the licensing objectives detailed above. Members are reminded that any such conditions should not duplicate existing legislation. Members are further reminded that any party to the review who is aggrieved at the decision of the licensing subcommittee, i.e. the premise licence holder or the Home Office, may appeal the decision to a magistrate's court. In the event of such an appeal, any determination by the subcommittee will not take effect until the appeal is disposed of. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you. Can I ask members if they have any questions of the officers? Councillor Donoghue, Councillor Hughes? No? No questions? Thank you. Item 5 on the agenda is the exclusion of public and the press to consider the exclusion. I've not had any requests to consider the exclusion. Has there anybody got a particular interest and would like the press to be excluded? No, nothing coming up. Thank you very much. We're all right as we are then. To invite the applicants for a review to present their application. Mr. Bryden, please. Can you present your application?
Thank you. Yes, I have prepared statements to read out, if that's okay. I shall start with that.
Carry on.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, Chairperson and Committee. I am Mark Bryden. I am an immigration officer with the North Eastern Cumbria Immigration Compliance and Enforcement Team. To give you a brief overview of the role we play within the immigration system and how that fits in with the Licensing Act. You will all be familiar with Border Force. These are the people who check your documents when you first enter the UK and return from holiday. They deal with everything up to the borders. Immigration enforcement is a team responsible for everything after the border. That includes people who have overstayed their visa, those who have entered the UK illegally, such as in the back of a lorry. We run intelligence-led operations, responding where we have information that businesses are employing illegal workers or people are living illegally in the UK or are in breach of immigration rules. In addition, immigration enforcement provide a response to police forces where foreign nationals are arrested. We assist with establishing identity and status and, where necessary, detain or remove individuals. We are also able to prosecute for the more serious immigration offences through our crime and financial teams. The prevalence of illegal workers in the licensing trade is so grave that the government has made significant changes to the Licensing Act, making the Home Office a responsible authority. This review is brought by the Home Office Immigration Enforcement as a responsible authority under the Licensing Act 2003, Preventing Crime and Disorder. As outlined in the application for review, the premises licence holder is Mr. Abdul Manan Shabul Ali. The role of the premises licence holder be that an individual or company should not be underestimated. The premises licence holder, in this case Mr. Abdul Manan Shabul Ali, has a statutory obligation to provide the licensing objectives and to ensure that as a designated premises supervisor, he is conducting the day-to-day operations in line with expectations. From the evidence put before you from the Home Office, it is apparent that poor management from the licensee and DPS, Mr. Ali, is in fact a direct reflection of the poor company practices and policies. If the Chair Committee, you find that ultimately the failings presented are from Mr. Ali, then we would urge that the removal of him as a licence holder and DPS and a consideration of revocation or suspension of the premises licence is strongly considered. Immigration Enforcement has visited the premises on 2 occasions where the current DPS and premises licence holder has been in charge. On Thursday, 2nd of May 2019, an intelligence-led immigration enforcement operation took place at Akbar's Dynasty restaurant, situated at Sadburge, Darlington, Cleveland, DL2 1SZ. The premises are run as a Bengali cuisine restaurant. At the time of the operation, the premises were operating under a licence issued to Mr. Ali. This has been a case since our record the 23rd of June 2009. The operation was conducted by several immigration officers, including myself. Information had been received stating that a named Bangladeshi male aged between 35 to 36 years old, approximately 5'7" tall, of medium build and short black hair, had overstayed his visa in the United Kingdom and was working illegally at Akbar's Dynasty. According to our records, there have now been more than one visit where civil penalties have been issued. A civil penalty was issued on the 24th of July 2019 to Brand Style Limited of £20,000, who were the liable party, and the director responsible at the time was Mr. Abdul Latif Raja Ali. Also on the 28th of February 2020, another illegal worker was identified. A further civil penalty of £15,000 was issued to Asmar Star Limited. Director responsible for this penalty is Abdul Manan Shabul Ali. Further to recent checks on our Home Office systems, both of these civil penalties remain outstanding and our appeal rights exhausted. The employment of people who do not have the right to work in the UK is a serious crime and can be linked to exploitation of vulnerable people. Continuing to employ people without making the legal required checks and not making improvements to prevent such allegations goes to demonstrate that the premises licence holder is not robust and does not take the responsibilities towards the licensing objectives seriously. The ability to work illegally is a key driver of illegal migration. It encourages people to break the UK's immigration laws and provides practical means for migrants to remain unlawfully in the UK. It encourages people to take risks in trying to enter the UK legally by putting their lives in the hands of unscrupulous people smugglers and leaves them vulnerable to exploitative employers. Illegal working results in businesses that are not playing by the rules undercutting legitimate businesses that are. It also negatively impacts on the wages of lawful workers and can be linked to other labour market abuse such as tax evasion, breach of national minimum wage and exploitative working conditions. Working illegally is a criminal offence, and on conviction in England and Wales, An illegal worker may receive a custodial sentence of up to 6 months and an unlimited fine. We are committed to tackling the economic motivation behind illegal migration and those people who facilitate it. However, employers also have an important role to play in preventing illegal working by undertaking simple checks on their employers' right to work in the UK. Employers have had a responsibility since 1997 to ensure they do not employ illegal workers. Since 2008, this requirement has been underpinned by civil and criminal sanctions for non-compliance set out in the Immigration Act. Under these sanctions, an employer who employs an illegal worker may be liable for a civil penalty of up to £20,000 per illegal worker, and an employer who knowingly or has reasonable cause to believe that the employment is not permitted may, on conviction after indictment, be subject to a custodial sentence up to 5 years and an unlimited fine. Employers may prevent a liability for a civil penalty by undertaking simple right-to-work checks on all those they intend to employ and repeating the checks if the employee has a time-limited permission to live and work in the UK. The panel will be aware of the High Court judgment from East Limsey District Council versus Abu Hanif regarding Zara's restaurant and takeaway, to get over the point that prosecutions don't have to occur in order for crime prevention objective to be undermined and the licensing authorities to be able to take action. The Home Office have presented this evidence to inform the Licensing Committee's consideration and draw its attention to the significant risk that the licensing objective of preventing crime and disorder is being undermined. It is requested that the Licensing Committee consider the premises licence and take action that it considers necessary. Home Office Immigration Enforcement are supporting the position put forward by the Licensing Authority regarding the revocation of the premises licence. If the panel consider the revocation is not appropriate, then we would ask for the following conditions to be considered: removal of the DPS from the premises licence and an appointment of a new DPS, suspension of the premises licence and application of conditions to the licence. We seek a temporary suspension of the licence to allow a new DPS to be appointed and a system put in place in order that employment checks can be conducted. The employer must carry out checks relating to the right of work of their employees working at the premises and at any prospective employees before entering into a contract of employment. The employer must retain copies of documents as a result of conducting checks relating to the right to work. These must be stored securely by the employer at the premises, or a digital copy must be immediately accessible from the premises for ease of inspection by immigration officials. The employer or any person appearing to represent the employer must be able to produce on demand documents relating to the right to work at the request of a police officer, licensing officer, or an immigration officer who enters the premises to carry out an inspection under Section 179 of the 2003 Act. The additions of conditions to the premises licence will reduce the risk currently associated with the premises in relation to illegal working and immigration crime by ensuring the correct procedures are in place to prevent immigration offences taking place. This will ensure immigration safeguards in the future, which ensure an enhanced level of right to work checks as a condition of continuing to hold the licence. There is certain criminal activity that may arise in connection with the licensed premises, which should be treated particularly seriously. These include the use of the licensed premises for knowingly employing a person who is unlawfully in the UK or who cannot lawfully be employed as a result of a condition of that person's leave to enter. It is envisaged that licensing authorities, the police and other law enforcement agencies which are responsible authorities will use the review procedures effectively to deter such activities and crime where reviews arise, and the licensing authority determines that the crime prevention objective is being undermined through the premises being used to further crimes. It is expected that revocation of the licence, even in the first instance, should be seriously considered. And that is the statement from the Home Office.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bryden. Before I open it up to questions, just one minor point from me, Mr. Bryden. Sudbury, I don't know who that interference is coming from. Sudbury and Darlington are not in Cleveland. They're historically in County Durham, but definitely not Cleveland.
I do apologise.
I'd like to invite members, officers, and the premises licence holder, Mr. Ali, if they have any questions of Mr. Bryden. I can't see any indication. Yes, Colin.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mr. Bryan, just a quick question. Could you just explain a little bit more detail what was meant by appeals rights exhausted?
Certainly, when we impose a civil penalty on anybody, they have a right to appeal that decision. There is a set time limit to appeal that. If no appeal is received, then we class that as appeal rights exhausted and the fine will stand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I can't see any other hands up. No. Mr. Ali, would you like to make a response and call any witnesses? Do you have any witnesses?
I don't have any witnesses, but what I can say is on the latest one, the 2019, when I just recently had a takeover over the premises, the property again, as I had a sublease on it to somebody else. The reason the sublease got dismissed after the contract ran out in 2019 was because of that, and I retook over the business myself again in 2020 with the new, because I had a new lease and everything put in place. And when I had just taken over, this is when the immigration officers come in. And at the time, there was one person he wasn't working, who came in for an interview, who come in a couple of days before the officers came in. I wasn't at work, so my colleague I was advised him to come back on the day that I was working. And that was the Thursday when the officers came in, and he was in for his interview at that day. Actually, he was looking for a job, knowing he didn't tell me at the time that he didn't have his work permit. He wasn't an immigrant. He did have the legality to stay in this country, but he was just waiting for his work permit permission to be granted, which has been granted by now, which was granted just 2 months later after the immigration officers have come around to the property. This was it. He wasn't actually working for me. He was just on an interview on this day, the day the officers had come in to the property.
Okay, so all you have to say, Mr. Ali?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members, officers, or the Immigration Service? Anyone, any questions?
Could I clarify a position with Mr. Ali just said regarding a person coming in for an interview?
Yeah.
According to my officers, the gentleman was wearing a waiter's outfit and attending a table when officers entered the premises. We believe he was working as a waiter, not attending for an interview.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bryden. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Chair. I believe from what Mr. Bryden said that part of our consideration needs to be in relation to whether Mr. Ali knowingly employed someone without the right to work in the United Kingdom. And I'm not quite sure whether knowingly employing is the same as being responsible and submitting and having to hand the documentation required to show that people have permission to work in the United Kingdom. So I wonder if we could receive some guidance on that. And then I'd like to ask Mr. Ali a direct question, please.
Can you assist on that, Mr. Bryden, please?
Certainly. I believe the question is, do we believe Mr. Ali was knowingly employing somebody with no permission to work in the UK?
Sorry, Chair. No, that's not what I'm asking for Mr. Bryden. I think I'm asking for advice from Bethany Simmons in relation to our role as members of this hearing. So the level of proof that we need to satisfy ourselves whether someone knowingly employs, whether it's whether the person would say that they didn't know, or whether there would be a responsibility to have documentation to hand according to the law of the licensing committee itself, or statutory responsibility.
Okay, sorry, Councillor Hughes, I am with you now. Bethany, would you like to come in there, please? You're on mute.
Still on mute, Bethany.
Thank you. That's absolutely fine. I understand where you're coming from, and I'm happy to discuss that with you when you go out for your deliberations. We can talk that through. So that's absolutely fine.
Okay, then in that instance, Chair, may I ask Mr. Ali a direct question?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Ali, did you knowingly employ someone who did not yet have permission to work in the United Kingdom?
No, ma'am, I did not. He did, from what I know, when the officers come in, they came in really early, and it was just at the time when the restaurant had opened. I traveled I traveled 75 miles from my house to work, which is in Keighley, where I traveled from. And by the time I got there, obviously this waiter had come in looking for a job, and he did mention that he's working. He's waiting for his permit. He had all the rest of the papers, like he had his ID card to show that he wasn't an immigrant. He was just waiting for his work permit to be granted to him, which has been granted to him. And previously, to be honest, all the people that have been taken away as an immigrant from the immigration officer, they all have been granted their work permits now. At the time, the previous one, 2019, obviously, I wasn't aware of the people who have worked there because I wasn't the business owner at the time, which I was supervising the premises because the premises is under me. But the company owner was somebody else, which I had subleased to someone else, but at that time, which was a different lease altogether. But from what I'm aware, all these people have been granted the permits and everything now, and all these people are working. They're not working for myself now, but they're all working in different restaurants with full work permits and everything granted to them.
Chair, with just in relation to that, with due respect, Mr. Ali, my question was, at the time of the incident,
I did not know I did not know, ma'am. He didn't say to me until the immigration officers had come in, and then afterward he said that listen, I haven't got. I'm still waiting for my permit. That's what he even told the officers at the time when they came in for him, and that is when I was aware that he wasn't. I even told the officers that as soon as they came in, I told them that I've got new staff on because I had just recently taken over again, and I've got one person on interview who was this person, Mr. Hassan, I think his name was at the time.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Bethany, still have your hand up? Bethany, your hand is still up.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask Mr. Ali, do you have a system in place for when you take on new members of staff? Do you have a system in place for checking that they have the right to work in the UK?
We do have that, ma'am. We do have that everything. So everybody has to bring in all the necessary documents that they need to for employee, and we check that now. And we check that. So at the moment, everyone that's working in my place is all legal, and all the necessary documents have been checked, and it is absolutely right.
Right. So this person in question who was working without the right to do so, had you checked their paperwork and kept a record of that?
I didn't keep any records because when they came, when he was in for an interview, and I even told the officers that, as soon as the officer said that he doesn't have the permit to work, this is when I realized and I didn't employ him. I didn't keep him on the job, so I didn't take any more details because I didn't want any of this. Because he didn't have the paperwork, so I didn't want him employed in this way, so I didn't give him the job. So
had you checked this person's right to work in the UK, and had you kept the paperwork?
I haven't, because he didn't. I've kept all this. I kept his details just in case in the future if I needed to respond or anything like that, I would be able to get hold of the person and give you the necessary documents that is required.
And can I ask if Mr. Bryden can make any comment on that?
Yes, certainly. I believe Mr. Ali said that the gentleman produced his immigration identification card when he arrived. It clearly states on the back of the card, no permission to work, as part of the conditions of his stay in the UK.
And Mr. Bryden, did you find that there was any records or any evidence that Mr. Ali had checked this person's right to work?
There was no evidence for either visit that any checks had been conducted on the gentleman. Mr. Ali explained on the visit that the gentleman had been working there since the Tuesday, a few days earlier, and he had not yet produced any documentation to Mr. Ali, but he would be bringing it in, and he was only on a trial to check if he was able to work at the premises.
Thank you, Chair. I know that was a few questions, but I was just trying to drill down into that issue to clarify.
Thank you, Bethany. Councillor Donoghue.
Actually, Bethany's just asked two of the questions I was going to ask myself, so thanks very much, Bethany.
Okay. Mr. Bryden, you have still got your hand up?
Sorry, I was just asking regarding Asco and the immigration card, but I mentioned that earlier.
Thank you. Mr. Ali, can I ask you what provisions you have if you're on the premises and you're relying on a manager to do what in effect is your job? What provisions do you have in place? What do you tell your manager?
I mean, my managers are normally, they all been trained to know what to do. I mean, normally in an alcohol license, they're all been trained about people coming in with underage drinking and everything. So they're aware of basic things, everything. And this all CCTV camera as well. So I usually keep an eye on it as well from CCTV. And everyone there is they're all we employ. They're all experienced workers who's been working for 15, 20 years in bars and restaurants. So and usually we go to this basic trainings of working in a bar and knowing what to do and how to react to any problems.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ali, this question is also for you. In the light of information heard this morning in relation to the review, do you wish to amend your operating schedule or change the designated premises supervisor or change or offer any additional conditions to your license?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much. The applicant, would you like to review and sum up without introducing any new issues, please? Mr. Bryden.
Certainly. 1 minute, please.
Sorry, I didn't get that, Mr. Bryden.
Sorry, I'm just yes. I will sum up. In summing up, I can just say that the immigration enforcement has made 2 visits to the premises. A total of 5 illegal workers were encountered and 4 were arrested on 1 visit. And on the second visit, 1 was told to leave the premises as he had an outstanding application to remain in the UK. It's our belief that Mr. Ali is not taking the correct action as a premises license holder, and by failing to change any of his operating procedures, we believe that this will probably continue in the future. We therefore ask that the committee do review the premises license with looking at to revoke the license whilst proper procedures could be put in place for a future date. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bryden. Mr. Ali, would you like to do something similar? Would you like to sum up your defence, I suppose, of this case, please?
I mean, I've been a license holder for quite a long time now. I don't have any criminal records or anything. I employ people around there. There's a lot of people that work in the restaurant and in the bar. I know we're going through a hard time now with the pandemic going on, but it's just another month before the restaurant opens up again, and we have all our staff back in at work and everything. And so I mean, I've had no problems, no issues in the restaurant with any of my customers or any public or any of my staff. So I am quite a responsible person, and I have, like I said, I have no criminal offence or anything, criminal records, and I've had no problems or issues with anything else before. So I'd like everything to be as it was and as it is.
Okay, everybody finished. Thank you very much. We will retire to make a decision. Alison, can you stop the live streaming, please?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll ask for the live stream to be paused now. the decision. Lovely, thank you. Just to confirm, the streaming's commenced again, Chair.
Thank you very much, Alison. Can I just confirm that Mr. Ali is with us? I obviously haven't got a picture of him. Mr. Ali, are you with us?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that was him. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. The decision of the committee is to revoke the licence for the following reasons. We've seen no evidence of Mr. Ali trying to reassure the committee, despite having been warned previously. We don't really think he appreciates the issue, and there is poor management and lack of policy, and we don't believe any changes, although Mr. Ali didn't offer any changes, the changes that were suggested by Mr. Bryden, we don't think they would help the situation. Mr. Ali, you have 21 days to appeal to the Magistrates Court, and you will receive a letter from the licensing department within probably the next 5 days. Okay, thank you very much. That concludes the meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.